Imagine this. You're scrolling through your feed late at night, heart pounding from the day's chaos, politics raging in Washington, strikes shaking London streets, and suddenly, a tale unfolds that grips you tighter than any headline. What if solitude shattered in an instant, revealing secrets darker than the American Midwest plains or the misty English moors? Dive into Rancher lived alone for years, until a naked woman appeared crying at his fence, a story packed with twists that'll leave you breathless. Hit that subscribe button now for more edge-of-your-seat narratives delivered straight to your inbox. Don't miss out, subscribe today and unlock worlds you never knew existed. In the vast, unforgiving expanse of Montana's Badlands, where the wind howled like a forsaken soul and the nearest neighbor was a day's ride away, lived Elias Thorne, a rancher who'd carved out a life of deliberate isolation after the war tore his world apart. For 15 years, he'd tended his cattle alone, his only companions the creaking timbers of his weathered cabin and the ghosts of memories he buried deep under layers of calloused skin and whiskey-soaked nights. Elias was a man of few words, his face etched with lines from sun and sorrow, his hands rough from ropes and regrets. He'd lost his wife to a fever back in '98, and his son to the trenches of Europe, leaving him to wander his 1,000 acres like a specter, mending fences by day and staring at the stars by night, wondering if solitude was a curse or a mercy. The ranch was his fortress, bordered by miles of barbed wire that snaked across the rolling hills, a barrier against the world that had taken everything from him. No visitors came, no letters arrived, even the mailman knew to leave packages at the gatepost 5 miles down the dirt road. Elias liked it that way, predictable, controlled, empty. But on a crisp autumn evening in 2015, as the sun dipped below the horizon painting the sky in blood-red hues, everything changed. He was out by the eastern fence, hammering in a loose post, when he heard it. A faint, sobbing cry carried on the breeze, like a wounded animal pleading for release. Elias froze, his hammer mid-swing, heart thudding in his chest for the first time in years. He scanned the dimming landscape, eyes narrowing against the twilight, and there she was, a woman, stark naked, huddled against the fence, her skin pale and bruised under the fading light, tears streaming down her dirt-streaked face as she clutched the wire, oblivious to the barbs cutting into her palms. "Help me," she whispered, her voice trembling, eyes wide with terror that pierced straight through Elias's armored soul. He approached cautiously, his boots crunching on the dry grass, mind racing with questions. Who was she? How had she gotten here, miles from any road, without a stitch of clothing? Was this some trick, a hallucination from too many lonely nights? But her fear was real, palpable, as she collapsed into his arms when he reached her, her body shivering against the chill. Elias wrapped her in his jacket, murmuring awkward reassurances as he carried her back to the cabin, her weight light but her presence heavy with unspoken horrors. Inside, by the flickering fire, he gave her water and a blanket, watching as she sipped tentatively, her green eyes darting around like a trapped deer. Her name was Lila, she said, voice barely above a whisper, and she'd escaped from something, someone, terrible. She spoke in fragments. A cult in the mountains, rituals under the moon, a leader who called himself the prophet, binding her in chains of faith and flesh. Elias listened, skepticism warring with sympathy. He'd seen enough of the world's madness in the war to know truth often hid in the shadows. As days turned to weeks, Lila healed under his roof, her bruises fading, her story unfolding like a twisted vine. She was from a small town in Idaho, drawn into the group by promises of belonging after her family disowned her for a youthful mistake. The prophet, a charismatic ex-con named Harlan Voss, had built a compound in the wilderness, preaching apocalypse and demanding absolute devotion, including rites that blurred lines between salvation and sin. Lila had been his, chosen, marked for a sacrifice that involved fire and blood, but she'd fled naked into the night, running blindly until she collapsed at Elias's fence. He believed her, or wanted to, as her presence thawed the ice around his heart. For the first time in years, the cabin echoed with conversation, laughter even, as she helped with chores, her lithe form moving gracefully among the horses, stirring feelings Elias thought long dead. But twists lurked in the quiet. One night, as thunder rolled across the plains, Lila confessed more. She'd killed a man in the escape, the prophet's right-hand enforcer, stabbing him with a shard of glass to break free. Elias's stomach churned. Was she a victim or a fugitive? He promised to protect her, but doubt gnawed at him. Then came the signs. Missing tools from the barn, strange footprints near the fence, whispers on the wind that sounded like chants. Elias dismissed them as paranoia until he found a note nailed to the gatepost: "The chosen must return. The end is nigh." Panic set in. The cult had tracked her. He fortified the ranch, loading his old rifle, teaching Lila to shoot under the Montana stars. Their bond deepened, turning from protector and protected to something intimate, her touch igniting sparks in his weary body, nights spent in shared warmth against the encroaching cold. But the first twist struck like lightning. Searching Lila's meager belongings one day while she bathed, Elias found a hidden phone, its screen lighting up with messages from Harlan. Not pleas for help, but coordinates, plans. Was she a plant, sent to lure him into some scheme? Confrontation erupted. She swore it was for escape, but trust fractured. As cult members appeared on the horizon, shadows in the dust, Elias prepared for siege. Gunfire echoed through the valleys, bodies falling in the dirt as he defended his land, Lila fighting beside him with fierce determination. In the chaos, another revelation. Harlan wasn't just a prophet, he was Elias's long-lost brother, twisted by the same war that scarred them both, seeking revenge for a betrayal Elias had buried, abandoning him on the battlefield to save himself. The naked woman at the fence. Harlan's ploy, using Lila as bait to draw Elias out. But Lila, in a final twist, turned the tables. She'd fallen for Elias truly, betraying Harlan by alerting authorities mid-siege via that hidden phone. Sirens wailed as the cult crumbled, Harlan captured, his empire of delusion exposed. Elias and Lila stood amid the ruins, bloodied but alive, their solitude shattered forever. Yet in the aftermath, one last curve. Lila was pregnant, not from the cult, but from their nights together, a new beginning rising from the ashes. Years later, the ranch thrived with laughter of children, Elias no longer alone, his fence a symbol not of isolation, but of unexpected salvation. The end, or just the start of mending broken souls in America's wild heart.